Welcome to the Dream is Love Conversations with Professor D, Camela Chavers-Douglass, and Piper Dellums. Please send us your questions and we will answer them live. You can send those questions to thedreamislove@gmail.com. Let's talk. We as a body of humanity have found ourselves in a time of chaos, of struggle, of anxiety, fear, isolation, and depression. But this is a 3D consciousness. It is comprised of a lower density vibrational frequency because it operates in the third dimension, where we view things from a purely physical state and view ourselves as separate from others. We believe that we are in competition with others, and we operate from a concept of scarcity and victim consciousness. But we have moved out of that and into the fourth dimension, the 4D, where we begin to awaken to the understanding and the knowing that we are all connected, that there is more to life than what we can access physically, and that our thoughts and feelings impact our reality. We begin to understand that there is a greater purpose in life, and we search for something more meaningful than our materially based world. Hello.
Hey, hey, girl, hey.
Hey, girl. Hey. Welcome back, everyone. Welcome back to The
The
Dream
dream is love.
Love, because that is the dream. So
I'm Professor D,
I'm Piper Dellums.
and we're dreamers.
We are dreamers. Do you know what it means to be a dreamer?
What does it mean to be a dreamer?
It
Tell
means
them.
to be an overcomer, to be a survivor, to still ascend, to not give up, to be hopeful, to continue with the dream within and without, the ultimate dream. Love
Never stop dreaming.
and never stop loving.
I love it.
I love it. So, so you know what? We got questions. People started writing in. We're going to be like the sister of the new Dear Abby. The Dream is
Yeah.
Love questions have rolled in about the last broadcast that we made. So do you want to give us a recap?
Yes, it was very personal for us. So some of the things that I believe that we had shared, maybe even prior to going on the live, and we ended up in the basement.
We did.
We ended up having to go down into the basement where people don't like to go. They don't like to be in the dark, the damp, the unknown. And we talked about that. And we talked about what we found in the basement. And sometimes when you're going in the basement, you find some things that you didn't want to find. And what does that look like? And how do you deal with those things that you find? So
Exactly what we talked about.
that's what we talked about.
Yeah, and I think the basis of it, we were dealing with the stuff that we were going through personally, and so many other people are. But for me, it was my physical illness, what's going
Hmm.
on in my body. And you took me down, and you were like, "Open up the trunk. What are the bones, and what are you afraid to look at in the mirror?" And if we were to look in that mirror and not bear witness to what's going on in the world or with others in our victim mindset, but just look at ourselves, what do we see, and why are we afraid to see it? And what can we do to continue to rise once we've borne witness?
And the greatest of it all was turning the light on.
Mm,
People are afraid in the basement because usually in the older basements, which is the foundation of the home,
that's right.
they almost act as if it's not there, but it has to be there. It's the foundation of your home.
Mm,
You have to do your laundry down there. So when you actually have to go in the basement and do your laundry, you have to turn the light on. That's the only way your clothes are going to get clean.
mm. You know what I
And
know?
that light,
The light, like the light of the world, God,
the light of the world.
cleans up all of the grime and debris. The greatest laundry machine in the world cleans it all away, but we still have to strip down naked to take those clothes off. Like you say, turn the light on, put it in. What's the detergent, Cam? What is the detergent to clean up the grime? Girl, it is.
Love.
It is love.
It's love.
Everything goes back to it.
Because we talked about the algae.
Yes. Thank you, Dr. Sister Jenna.
Yes. Cleaning out the algae.
So, looking in the mirror, if you're going to bear witness to yourself in love, you can't bear witness to yourself in love and the purity of who you are, the purity of your true soulful self, without removing all those labels, without removing all that algae.
And the algae is, anger,
lust,
lust,
greed,
G for greed, attachments, and ego.
that big old ego. All right, I think we've done a beautiful recap, and I'm already feeling that I have a lot of work to do in the mirror.
And I suggest that if you're watching now and you did not get a chance to preview that, you can definitely catch it on YouTube. The whole thing is there if you missed
Absolutely.
anything.
Absolutely. And please, please feel free to write us. Write any questions 24 hours a day, anytime. Send in your questions, whatever you want to know. We'll respond as therapists, we'll respond as mamas, we'll respond as sisters, we'll respond from a societal construct, and we'll respond from a spiritual construct. And we'll air it live, and also we'll just be responding to you. But write us at www. Oh, no, no, no. That's our website. Write us at The Dream is Love, all lowercase, The Dream is Love at gmail.com. And our website is www.isloveretreats.com. Because when we do our live retreats, you are not going to want to miss it.
Mm-mm.
Also, you get to break off free if you have a desire and you want a private therapeutic sessions with Professor D or myself. You want us together and you'd like to be not on air, but do a private sessions, please write us there and we'll set that up for you.
And lastly, if you have a thought that you would like for us to discuss, something that is pressing on you, it may be a download that you're thinking you're by yourself. You're more than likely you're not by yourself. So feel free to share your thoughts, because that's something that we would be more than willing to entertain.
Absolutely, absolutely. And we'll bring on other healers, people that are spiritualists, people that do sound bath, that do breath work. So if you're looking for new modalities, prayer, meditation, silence, or you just need a friend, just a friend, because we are coming out after COVID. We've all sort of gone into our introverted phase. We've become extroverted introverts. And if you just need someone to talk to, sisters, we're here.
So that means at the end of our conversation, make sure that you stay tuned, because there's going to be a meditation at the end as well. So just hold on tight.
Hold on tight. We're manifesting this week. So this week we're doing a consistent meditation of manifest. And then we'll continue with others like You Are the Light. So we want to make sure that you learn the practices. So when you have these questions and you have that mirror and those bones, you may not have anybody to go to.
Mm-hmm.
That small, still voice, be still and know. And meditations help guide you to that small, still voice, that light that's turned on.
That light.
We're gonna throw you into the laundry machine.
Well, we have some people who are ready to be thrown into the laundry. They had some questions.
We have
Just
a lot of questions.
Yes, in reference to what we discussed. And so I think that's that'll be very instrumental right now in this conversation.
Okay. So I'm just gonna gear up and play the first one that came in and make sure that you can hear it. So you let me know when I play it. Are you able to hear it? Now this person sent in 2 back to back. I think they sent in 1 and then they added an addendum. So we'll play them both and then you respond first.
Dreamers, I loved it so much. There was so much that came out of that. And so with that, I have a question. Well, it's a couple of questions kind of rolled into one. So what do you think the psychological factors are that contribute to people not wanting to see their real selves in the mirror? Like you talked about the basement and you talked about, that type of thing. So what do you think those psychological factors are that contribute to people not wanting to see their real selves in the mirror? And what are the emotional reasons behind people's reluctance to face their true reflection in the mirror? And then lastly, How do societal standards and expectations influence people's reluctance to see their real selves in the mirror? So thank you so much for answering. I appreciate that.
Wow, that's a great question.
I would like to start off with, I'm going to try to put it all together here. Psychological health is dealing with mental, emotional, social, and spiritual. And so, mental thinking, emotional feeling, social is how you relate to others, and spiritual is being. And all of those things are forever at work. I'm thinking all the time, so I'm feeling. And how I relate to others is showing everyone how I am being. And so there's no separation. I believe it's all totally together. So when I'm in the basement, when I'm really looking through the algae and trying to find the way, I have to first think with my thoughts. What am I thinking? And most times than not, people are already defeated by their thoughts. Because even by the time you feel it, your thought had already won. So now that thought is making me feel a certain type of way. And before you know it, I've attached that feeling to dealing with you. How I deal with you is what I thought about. So now, am I fully being? Am I fully arriving at that spiritual place of who I am? What do you think about that?
Um, well, absolutely. What you just laid, you laid the bricks in the four corners of that foundation to respond to that. What I heard from the question is, why is it so difficult for people to look in the mirror, to to step out in the world in their authenticity? It's difficult because we live in a society that is societal constructs define our housing, our education, our employment, our well-being, our body politic, our socialization, all of our relationships, and the media and other attributes that define for us what it means to be beautiful, what it means to be successful, what it means to be loved, all of the capabilities. It's so fearful and it's so limiting. And if you're walking through the world in a certain gender, if you're walking through the world in a certain religion, if you're walking through the world in a certain cloak of race, if you're walking through the world in a certain way that you choose to love, or if you're walking through the world with regret, if you're walking through the world having had past experiences that you feel would cause others to judge or diminish you, even though all of humanity has made mistakes, we end up burying in those chests the bones and in the mirror those aspects of ourselves that we're fearful for others to see because we don't want to be judged. We don't want to be denied. We don't want doors closed. We don't want to be pushed out. We want to be in the clique. We want to be in the circle. We want to be chosen on the sports team in school. We want to be the first one, to win the chair, when we're going around, doing musical chairs. We want to be in the in crowd. We want to be
Mm-hmm.
pretty enough, thin enough, smart enough, creative enough, rich enough, all of these aspects. And we don't believe that authenticity is the way through. That's because what we've been told by society, by parents, how we've been programmed by television, and the limiting thoughts of those in power, including colonization and colonizing thoughts, probably being the biggest one. When we look in the mirror, we see our authenticity, our beauty, our truth with all of its complexities. But we don't want to look too deeply because when we do, we allow those voices to tell us you're not enough, you shouldn't have done that, you should be regretful. Mm-hmm.
You were talking about the authenticity.
Mm-hmm.
And, being authentic. Everyone's like, I'm being authentic. I'm living in my truth. These are like trendy words now. Those words used to mean something.
Mm-hmm.
But I think what's happening, even with the mirror, is people don't recognize themselves because of the things that you've said, because of the level of what beauty is, the level of what, to be healthy is. So I think when you have to actually face the mirror and really see self, we don't not only don't like what we see, we don't recognize what we see.
What it means to be authentic, it may be a trendy word. It's sort of like, we are in a time where people have things like alternative truth. Well, authenticity is not trendy, authenticity is God. This is who we were when we were created. And we lost our authentic selves when we started putting on, like we said, in our other discussion, the fig leaves of society. We start putting on the masks and the costumes. So we have
Yes.
to go back to the true definition of authentic, and that's what it means to look in the mirror. People may say they're living their truth, but until they know who they are without their labels, their titles, their algae, they can't live in that truth. They're living in the 3D truth, the truth of how this world defines truth. But remember, like I just said, we are in an alternative truth dimension right now. And there is
Mhm.
no such thing as an alternative truth. But truth has many different facets of being. So people right now may be walking in their truth, where they are in this season of their elevation or their incarnation, because the truth is always an ever expansive, ever evolving um, um, idea, concept, and reality.
And people are afraid of that. And so, even why don't people do it? There's a freaking fear.
And what do
And
you
of
think the
course,
fear is?
fear, false evidence appearing real, right?
Hmm.
We want to use that particular acronym. I'm scared of the boogeyman. I'm scared. People told me about this boogeyman. They told me what's in the basement. Girl, don't open up that Pandora's box. Now if you go ahead and deal with that right now, what's on the other end of that? Well, what's on that? What is on the other end of that?
So what you're saying is the actual truth is the boogeyman.
The boogeyman. Is that actually
All
what
right.
I'm trying
But
to-
but the thing that people need to deal with when they're talking about truth is it's always subjective. It's only coming from your sphere of awareness and your sphere of perception. So the way we may bear witness to ourselves, through how we see ourselves, how we define situations, mistakes, blah blah blah, it may be totally different than how everyone on the outside sees who even walked through those things with us. So this is the part of the attachment that we need to let go of. This is really still dealing with attachment. We're attached to the way we are perceived.
The last word I heard was perception.
Okay.
Oh, the last one. I just sat still because I said if it's still going on her side, I'll just keep my face straight.
Oh no, we're just gonna have to edit out all of these freezes. But at the same time, I want to make sure people know we keep freezing because I'm understanding what that means.
Yeah.
Look, all these dimensions of truth that we're opening up. So I loved that question,
And we're
and
not afraid. That is the message. Do not be afraid.
oh
Do
no,
not quit. Do not back down. Do not bow down. We stand
no,
in strength and truth today. We stand in love.
absolutely, and it conquers every yeah, again, even with the freezing, we keep turning on the light. That's what you said. We're standing in our truth. We're not letting the shadows win.
That's right.
We're still going to do the laundry because
Yep.
if someone tries to unplug the machine, I'm plugging the washing machine right on back in.
I have to. My clothes, I have to clean. I have to get cleaned. Ah!
Look. We have another question that came in, and we're going to play it right now. Let's see. I put it on speaker.
Hi, Piper and Camela. This is Phil and Ross calling in. I loved the talk, and it sparked a lot of questions for me and points of interest. And it had me thinking a lot about traditional religion and as we go towards a new society and as people take their masks off and we try to go towards a more collective consciousness, do you think it's possible that we're going to be able to take the traditional religions of the world, or do you think that they're a hindrance to what you're talking about? Is it going to require that we dismantle some of the more traditional ways that people view life and existence and spirituality and religion? Or is there a way that we can kind of shift the religions we all know to something that's more universal and supports this message and this movement? Thank you.
Great question. Can I start with this one?
Yes.
I think we answered it just in what we've been discussing. Every religion has the exact same answer, and it's love. Every single religion, every faith is gearing back to the removal of ego, going back to love, going back to the light, going back to trusting creation and creator, going back to humanity. What needs to be dismantled are the parameters by which religion limits the inclusion of all aspects of humanity and all aspects of creation. What needs to be removed are the thou shalt nots, the judgments, the inclusivity versus the the us and them aspect and concept of religion. And what we need to remember is that the Tower of Babel was created and fallen because all different types of humanity and men were attempting to reach heaven to become their own gods, which is what religion is. It's an indoctrination of trying to pretend that you have the ears, heart, and knowledge of who and what God is, and God cannot be defined. But we all know that God is an aspect of all aspects of our being because God is love. God is the light of the world. God holds everything together. So at Babel, when Babel fell, what happened? Everyone was at the base having a confused language because we were supposed to come back together with one language, the language of love. And that is the universal language. So yes, it's going to have to be dismantled like all other institutions, politics, all these things that are coming to naught, Hollywood, everything is breaking down. We're in a new dimension.
Everything.
But
And you mentioned the
indoctrination. I just wanted to say they have a purpose.
Yes.
This was the way that people in their own population, demographic, language, culture, when they looked in the mirror, they saw self, so they created gods that represented self. That actually is a true mirror, the God within you. It's just that now you have to expand that and recognize that your own eyesight is not the only vision of God. You don't own the mountaintop.
Yes. And that's what I wanted to say was the evolution. It has to happen. And so no, religion will not be the same. It's not even the same as it was yesterday. Because when you talked about the indoctrination, I think here's the professor thing, document. What is the document saying? Well, who wrote the document and where were they at in time in the document? Because if it wasn't written in love, it doesn't matter. Because when it goes back to it, the dream is love. It always was love.
Also, the tablets were broken. It's not about what's written. Even in the Jewish faith and Christian faith, the 10 Commandments were written on stone. That's the same as the Indak. But remember what was spoken. Write these things upon the tablets of your heart. But you can't do it unless you have a heart of flesh, which means it's bleeding. It's filled with love. It's a living organism. So it's not about an organization. It's about an organism. We have to move into the organism, the oneness.
The oneness. Yes.
Religion has to go.
And that has to come from the pumping. That pumping of the heart. If the heart stops pumping, it's no longer, right? No longer in existence.
Blood through the body.
And religion has gotten pump.
Yeah. And what is blood? What does blood represent in the body? Blood is the source of life. It's the one thing that can't be replicated. Man has created fake pig organs to put in people, but blood plasma you cannot replicate because the blood is the substance of life that only comes from creator and creation, and every single living thing on the planet has it.
Yes. And I wholeheartedly believe, especially after COVID, that there were a lot of churches that actually had to close. Because where was the life? Where was the life? It was no longer pumping. And until they get rid of the algae, until they really actually turn the light on in these religious temples and places and spaces, they're going to continue to fall off. And what's going to happen is, as we continue to elevate and have this expanded consciousness, self, the ascension of Christ, the rise of Christ, the rise of the light, the true light. It's a within, without.
Absolutely. And it wasn't that they closed, the institutions closed, but it was purposeful, because once the institutions closed, then we could really bear witness to what it is that we've learned, what is rooted, what's embedded.
Had to happen.
What are the tares in the wheat?
Yeah.
What is it that needs to be removed? What's the algae in the heart and souls of men that the organizations were propagating? Because, remember, as much as it's saying that it's based on love and wholeness and inclusion, and the be still and everyone's accepted and come as you are, that's not the case. Nobody did a come as you are. to church. Honey, you got to put your outfit out the day before, got your lashes, your hair did. You had to look a certain way. You wanted a certain seat. You had to make sure you, all of these in preparation to be seen. Nobody showed up actually with their bones on their back with a mirror saying, this is authentic, because we came with all of our labels.
Yes.
Once you come with your labels, I'm husband, I'm wife, I'm pastor, I'm deacon, I'm black, I'm female, I'm a victim, I'm victimizer, I'm doctor, I'm rich, I'm poor, I'm drunk, I'm whatever you came with, all of the labels. I'm Christian, I'm Buddhist, I'm Jewish, I'm Muslim, that had nothing at all to do with coming with falling before an altar. Because if you're going to come naked before God, you have to strip all of those fig leaves away so that
Mm-hmm.
God can truly bear witness to you and your soul and speak to you. You can't hear
Yes.
anything when you're all cloaked over.
Yes.
Everything's blocked. Those who have ears to hear, those who have eyes to
Yes.
see. So yeah, COVID helped drop those scales off of our eyes.
Yes. We have a caller.
Ooh,
What?
We have a caller. I'm live right now on the podcast.
Oh, hey, this is Propagator the Soul Regulator, and I just wanted to call into Professor D's barbecue for the best barbecue in town. Hey,
Yeah, that was a good joke. That was a good joke.
who's our caller? Who's on the line?
this is Pee Wee Harrison.
Hi, Pee Wee. Do you have a question for us?
Yes, I have a question for you.
Okay.
Yeah, I, I'm just an old country boy from Omaha, Nebraska, and I'm confused with a lot of things that's going on in this country right now. And I wanted to know, I'm working with my children, and I wanted to ask them how many races of people are there?
Ooh,
Yes.
love it. Hello, one human race, one consciousness, one dimension, one universality of all things, one light of the world that holds all things together. So there are unique cultures, unique imprints. It's like the Garden of Eden. You have the zebra and the giraffe and the hippo and the rhino, and the orchid and the water body. And all of these really still represent all of the creations within that Eden, within that forestation. But we are really one humanity. We're the children of God, of light and of love.
So why do people use the word racism?
Because I think that's a construct that's based on the external, not the internal. We're still basing ourselves on the fig leaves, on the outer shell, on the societal construct, on the flesh, the one thing that God says needs to die daily. So once you start defining flesh, you start separating based on different regions of the world, based on gender. So racism is a construct that defines people that are in the power to oppress others. The oppression of humanity is a significant part of colonization, of control, of trying to be God, of trying to define God, of trying to make excuses for how and why there is critical demise and oppression of another being. And it really comes with the false belief of the survival of the fittest. Once we propagated that lie in the world, or once we said that survival of the fittest was a real thing, that there's not enough to go around, then we put ourselves as a one human body into competition with one another, which was basically saying somebody has to die off for others to survive, and the selfish genetic took over.
One race, the human race. Does that word racism really exist? Is it a real word?
Are we still frozen, Ken? Absolutely.
No, we're not frozen.
If we start believing that we're separate from all things, then we believe the ways society chooses to define and construct how it controls, runs, oppresses, creates. So racism is very real in this dimension, but in the fourth and fifth dimension, racism is just a tool or a schoolhouse for the elevation of the human spirit. And what I and once you put yourself in the place of God, where you are in the power to take away someone's life, their job, their housing, their dignity, their self-respect, to control their ability to function in the world, then you're putting the us and them into play, and someone is taking the place of having control over the others. So racism is very real because we have a 1% in control. But is it real on the higher spiritual realm? No.
Does racism exist, or is it racism? Which one?
It was so, if there's only one race, the word racism doesn't exist.
But you got to believe that it's only one race. And that's basically what you're saying is in the level of thinking and the level of the expansion of your consciousness. No, racism does not exist.
In a 3D dimension, it exists. On the 4D, it doesn't. In the 5D, it's irrelevant.
I don't know what that means.
Well, let's answer that for him, though, Coach Pee Wee. So
go ahead.
Let me tell you about 3D consciousness.
I love it, though. I'm just
3D consciousness is comprised of a lower density vibrational frequency. So, like, remember how Cam is talking about everything is thought? Well, we know that we live in a world that the entire universe is nothing but energy, right? So everything is either electron, proton, or neutron. We're on frequencies. That's just basic physics. That's science, right? So if you're on a lower vibrational thought process, you know, it's like a balloon with helium. Something that is going to be rooted on the ground here on this earth level, that's a low frequency. The reasons that heaven, sun, moon, stars are above, that would be the helium. That's where we're positive. Somewhere in the middle are neutrons, right? This is neutral energy that can be attached to either negative or positive, right? We all learned this in 7th and 8th grade. In 3D is when you view things from a totally physical state. That's what 3D is. 3D is when we view ourselves as separate from others. That's like the me, the I. You know, I am Piper, I am Black, I am 58 years old, I'm a female, I have this many degrees, here's my dad, I have 2 children, here's my job. So we are separating ourselves. We are in the us and them, and now we're in the me. Let me go back to racism, because we're talking about being in a 3D. This is when people believe in a 3D that they're in competition with others. In a 3D, they believe and they operate from a concept of scarcity and victim consciousness. So living in a 3D consciousness is essentially operating out of ego and fear. So yes, racism exists in ego and fear. Judgment of what a woman should do with her body exists in ego and fear. Trying to define who God is, what love is, how people should act, walk, label in the world is a 3D consciousness. That's a limited mindset. That is on the earth, that is societal construct, and that is a controlling factor that most of us are trying to elevate ourselves out of. So the 4th dimension is when we begin to awaken to the understanding that we're all connected. That's that going like, wait a minute, it's not just about the me. This is where racism starts getting a little bit erased. Sexism gets a little bit erased because we realize that our labels and titles do not define who we are as authentic beings. This is where more like where we can access our physicality and we can access our thoughts and begin to understand that there's a greater purpose in our life. And this is when we start seeking out religion, seeking out spirituality, trying to go, wait, there's got to be a whole lot more than just me feeding me, right? And then the 5th dimension is this new shift that we're moving into now. We know by the band, The 5th Dimension, way back when they wrote about the dawning of the age of Aquarius, well, we've moved into that. And when you're in the 5th dimension, you're operating from a place of love, compassion, and authenticity. So it's an evolutionary process, as God is an evolutionary being. You know, God is an organism that continues to evolve, to ever evolve. So we're moving from the 3D to the 4D to the 5D. This is why we say that Yeshua ascended, and that at some place we will also ascend. We are ascending. We're already ascending. This is what the ascension is. The tares will stay to the ground, but the wheat is going to continue to ascend. And that ascension is the evolution of thought, of realizing that this world is not our home. That's part of the pilgrimage. So if the world is not our home, then its constructs don't belong to us either, which means the constructs of racism, sexism, all of these things don't belong to us. The judgments of society, politics don't belong to us. It's just a schoolhouse for us to bear witness to who we are and who we are not, so we can rise above and get into the oneness collective that is the Christ consciousness.
And to the question and to the caller, thank you. Thank you, Pee-wee. Thank you for calling. Thank you for your question. We are so grateful for it.
Oh, Lord.
Because somebody
After
wants to
answering
know.
the next one, honey. That was hard. That was hard.
Somebody wanted to know that answer. Someone had that question. That's why no question is too low. No question is stupid.
No.
Because everybody's in different spaces and
And we
places.
don't all have the answers. I don't have all the I can only respond from my opinion and my belief system. That does
Yes.
not mean that's the answer. That's just my answer, honey. There's 1,000
Yeah.
million other ones.
Yes. So I am so grateful for
I
this
love
time
you,
and
Pee-wee. That was
space.
good.
Yeah, definitely. Time goes so fast.
It's time to go. We don't have time for our the third question that we got on the taping from last week, but we moved into a conversation that really was a much broader perspective, and I'm grateful for it. That was really cool. That was
Yeah, because this is where we are, where people have gotten to the point, and not only your mental, like she talked about psychologically, not only mentally, but emotionally, like feeling a certain thing towards things. And why do we feel that way? What was it that made me feel this way about things? And I think we have to revisit this eventually on the next time.
Yeah.
Because
And we know why we feel that way. I felt it. I felt it when the caller started talking about women's rights.
I saw it.
I was like, hold up.
Yes.
And those are those imprints. That's in my trunk.
Yes.
I'm a rape survivor. That's
yes.
So I understand as a woman how, coming from what I have lived through, how I'm going, wait a minute, you're not going to tell me what I am or am not going to do with my physical body.
Yeah. And that feeling.
I felt it very personal.
Yes. I saw it. I saw it. I love this. I love this.
I was waiting on you to say, hold up, Pee-wee.
I couldn't because I had to let you get it because I seen it rise. It was like, it rose. You ain't even got to say, let me have this one. No, you had already.
So that was wild. We had 2 questions that came in, and we had a third that sort of took us down a whole nother road. And I guess it's kind of cool, Cam, because I don't think we expected, and we should be expecting, to get questions from all over the world.
We are such, we're in a place where the dream is love. And when you begin to feel that, to think it, to feel it, and act and relate to others in that way, it's infectious. And I believe that's what we're having here, is an infectious release.
Yeah.
So that the consciousness can expand, so I can start with the self-love so I can love others. So if I've been vibrating on this low place and I've been on this low frequency, that, wow, there are people who are willing to assist me to raise up.
Yeah, and a lot of people
rise up.
They're stuck in the 3D.
So what are we going to meditate with today?
Well, I tell you that the meditation we're going to do again with the music and soul and spirit healing from Dr. Ivy Hinton is Let There Be Light, because that's what we spoke on.
Yeah.
Meditate this time with Let There Be Light. And we love you. Don't forget to write us at thedreamislove@gmail.com, your questions. And if you want to come on live and you want us to have you on asking your questions live, put that in as well. And we'll get back to you. And we love you. And God, this is helping. It's healing. We're talking about it. That was a lot to talk about too.
All right. Peace and love.
Peace and love. Let there be light. We'll see you in a minute.
Understanding Gently close your eyes. Slowly, gently rest your hands on your lap. Deep breath in. Deep breath out. Deep breath in. Deep breath out. Allow your shoulders to droop down, 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 deeper and deeper into relaxation. And close your eyes. And in your mind's eye, begin to create a new reality. What is it that you truly desire right now? Use your soul language of the silence to guide your light. See your thoughts passing through the clouds right now. Allow your thoughts to move through the spaces of your mind. Drop down, 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 down into the experience. Breathe. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Now Stand